specific businesses and commercial interests, but in the end, it's a collective investment that it'll take for us to be able to reach the goals necessary for the mass and immediate repatriation of the diaspora. Our next guest is one of the most Pan-African brothers I've ever known outside of the African continent. And we're talking about a brother who takes all of the African values and the strategies of our ancestors and not just uses them to talk about them like, we know a lot of people who do good talking, but this is a brother who does good walking. And so we had to make sure we brought him on today. Many of you know him, a big influencer in the industry right now. My brother Q Butter. How you doing, bro? Brownsville in the house.
Hey, what's good, brother? What's good, brother? Shout out to the family, man.
Man, hey, Africa Day is here, man. Happy Africa Day to you.
Thank you much, King. Thank you much, man. Thank you much.
Absolutely.
When we do this next year, I'm gonna incorporate my institute and the students to be participating in this.
Absolutely. That would be great, man. I mean, you've been doing some things with the young people that I've never seen anybody do. When I first laid eyes on your program, I was shocked. I was impacted. It hit me like a train. Because I was like, yo, this is exactly what our young people have been needing. And so I'm gonna let you go ahead and break it down. Tell everybody about your Ziax Institute that's in Brooklyn, New York, and how you got started, why you got started, and where it's at today.
I'm trying not to be long-winded. Created an institute, and it's a movement, and the premise of the movement is to align Black people together, those that want to be aligned together. It brings together those who have a craft or who want to develop their craft so that way they can actually sustain themselves. We're most notably known for our music studio. Our music studios have been, in New York and thriving for a while. And with the studios, I developed, the institute. I've always been about education, directly relating education to the studio, where many of the young brothers whom everybody sees, killing each other, unfortunately, they are not that well educated, my brothers. And I know that firsthand. And I could look at it either way. I could say, as a studio owner, my clients are killing themselves. So it's in my best interest to help my clients become educated so that way they continue to be clients. You can look at it just from the basic business level, or of course, always from the community side, where it just relates to the bigger picture, where because our community is not educated, we're making certain decisions or not able to make certain decisions that either benefit or they further hinder us. And so for me, I've always saw education as a tool to develop the mind states that we actually want to see from people. And so when you see people who are, considered coons, a lot of those people who are considered coons were never educated. They don't know who Jomo Kenyatta is. They never heard of Patrice Lumumba. They don't even know who Marcus Garvey is. They don't even know who Elijah Muhammad is. And they've been in this country 30, 40 years. And so education, when you look at the lack of management of resources in our community, is because of education. And education in and of itself has been used as a tool to develop a certain type of mind in America. And what you see with most people who come here, they become acclimated to the American system through the school system. And the way in which it gets into the child's head and teaches them to be nothing but a nigger, to be nothing but the coon, and how that relates to people in the diaspora and other areas of the diaspora who are viewing what most consider Black Americans to be in the one of the best positions of all the positions. Nothing against people in Africa, but with the situation where we have all of these resources here, why are we not doing anything with it? And that's a question that many people say, and it's because of education. Most Black people in America were taught by white people, or they were taught by Black people who had faith in white people. And so my view is that education and the institution for education, which was started in Africa, was developed for a purpose of developing and enhancing the lives of the people who are there to support their community. Education goes with, can you cook? If you want your people to be able to cook and eat for themselves, they have to be educated on how to cook. If you want them to be able to heal themselves, they have to be educated. And the institution that develops that specific aspect of education in whatever category you be in needs to be focused on. And so in our community, what I find that in the conscious community, a lot of religious talk has overtoned the, the imperative things that need to be focused on. And that to me is another aspect of whites impeding on our planning by pushing religion. And so what you see in the conscious community and many of the pro-Black communities is a religious connotation to Black empowerment, even when they throw the spirituality onto everybody's hype about African spirituality right now. For me, I'm an atheist. I remove all of that. It's about what can we do to systematically develop ourselves so that way we can reach a space where we are sustaining ourselves and we have the ability to predict where we're going. And when I talk to people in America, I'm like, look, when you go to your business mind state, you want the most control. And in our own land in Africa, we have the opportunity for the most control. Right. And we're sitting here in America with all of this information and resources at our disposal. However, because we wasn't properly educated, we don't know how to use them. I was looking at a documentary with Bill Gates, and as much as we talk about Bill Gates spent $200 million on trying to develop a toilet for Africa, right, because the doo-doo issue is real. And how do you have a bathroom system if you don't have any plumbing systems? And how do you develop a plumbing system when the people live on top of the land where the plumbing has to get built on? So now you have to move 1 million people so you can dig out their ground, put in plumbing, and then move them back.
That's right.
And I'm listening to this white man say, these people don't got the money to do that. But then I'm also listening to this white man say, right over here, all of these resources is what's funding the world. Right. And so it's education. We don't know how to mine our resources. And those who are in Africa can, whatever position they're in, it becomes all over the place. And so, and it's the same thing in America. And so what I personally am bringing to the table is what I consider to be a clear thought process where we're focused on education. The education that we're bringing to the table is an institution that will be used to develop the key components that's needed to develop our community. For example, banks, Black banks in America in the last 2 years, almost 6 Black banks closed. There was 98 Black banks in 1999, let's say, around that era. There's 16 left. In 1980, there were hundreds. And when I talk to the Black banks, I'm like, do you not understand that if you don't invest in the education, the people that make up the Black bank are Black people. Those Black people who made the Black bank strive were entrepreneurs. They were Blacks who were into Black empowerment, and they were into much centered around entrepreneurship. And the entrepreneurship has been removed because the kids are going to schools that don't promote that don't highlight the need for a community to be able to sustain itself. Because what interest does America have in teaching Black people how to sustain itself? And so how can we expect what we consider to be our enemy ever to put us in a position where we can be of a position that's that's respected as an adversary? They don't respect us as an adversary.
And they won't until we act on our own sustainability.
And we can't act on our own sustainability unless we're educated.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your education program. I know you've got a school, you've taken a house in Brownsville, Brooklyn. You transformed it into this institute. I know just from watching your videos, you guys are working on stuff like astronomy. You're teaching kids taxes. You're talking about credit repair. You're talking about history and, all of these amazing topics that we never get in the public school system taught by our oppressors and the system that they put in place. What made you what made you choose those specific topics and subjects that you teach? And how are the young kids that you're teaching, how are they grasping things like that? How are they grasping astronomy and taxes and credit repair? How is that working out?
They're receptive to it. The human mind is a sponge. And the job of an educator is to make sure they receive it. My goal is to empower our community. In America and in the world, the leading businesses and jobs are STEM based. And in America, Black people make up less than 5 to 6% of those gainfully employed or in the businesses of STEM.
My STEM means science, technology,
Engineering, mathematics.
and mathematics.
So the top businesses, so forget slave money, forget old liquor money, STEM money created Jeff Bezos, it created the Amazons, Google, Microsoft, all of the big boys that's running around today is because of technology. And we know that the school system has done a great job at delivering Black people to the jail system. We make up 13% of the population, yet we are incarcerated, and we represent like 30% of those incarcerated to 40%.
Right.
The same school system has not been able to get us to be anywhere above 5% of those employed in STEM. It's just math.
Wow.
And so how could we make toasters, heating ovens, thermostats,
Cell phone.
when we made these things, everything I just named, we made.
Exactly.
But now the world is thriving off of these products, and we are just subject to being not even the consumers of the best of those products. We get the cheap versions from China. We can't even afford the good versions of what we created. The toaster, the blender. Most Black people can't even afford a $500 blender.
Right.
And we made that. That's our shit. An elevator. There would be no Dubai without a Black man's elevator.
That's right. That's right.
And how many of us can't afford to go there? And so for me, I'm just like, you know what? We can't afford these things because we allowed our ideas to be taken away. We didn't cultivate the minds to think about being able to sustain ourselves. And so what my institute is centered around STEM, African-based STEM education. When I teach students that STEM started in Africa, mathematics started in Africa. When you talk and you describe something quantitatively, you're describing it mathematically. That first action was done in Africa. And the process of being an engineer, solving problems, the first bridges, the first braids, the first machines, all created in Africa. The first types of bricks to be laid was created in Africa. And so if we don't recapitalize on the Black mind and put the faith in knowing that when the Black mind is properly developed and nurtured to have a level of capacity that fosters management, fosters predictability, that fosters, proper assessment, we take on roles that change the world. But when they keep us from being able to develop the higher process of thought, and it's simply by not educating us and simply by making us think that we need to be educated by them. And so for me, what our institute, we centered around making sure our children can be put in a position where they can compete, and not on some white world, but it's like an our world. Right. Then unifying the curriculum. We right now have a student in Ghana. She's from America, but she lives in Ghana, and she's in Kumasi. We have a student in Ontario, Canada. So what we've effectively done this year was unite and unify our curriculum, where it works across the globe. Where what we teach you here is suffice in Africa, it suffice in the Caribbean, it suffice in the Americas,
right,
and it can compete on whatever level.
Absolutely.
And as it develops, we'll be able to say, like, you know what, in 3 years with 50 kids in Uganda, we were able to take them from never ever touching electrical anything to having to be able to make an entire circuit, create a lamp circuit, set up their own solar panels, and also be able to create their own products.
That's education.
That's education.
That's education.
And we can say, we can predict when that can come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows us, and something that inspired me during COVID was to say, I want to push the GDP of Black people.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hearing Black people too much talk about everything, but I want to be able to say, no, Q, brought systematic money to the world of Black people. When I was doing credit repair, I can say I brought millions of dollars to the Black community just by removing debt, by putting people in a position to have more credit. And I can show those numbers. Now with the Institute, we can show these numbers. And when we get into our alliance and what we're doing here with the alliance, we can say in 10 years, we've effectively developed 1,000 Black students on the continent.
Right.
And they are now able to walk into America, pass any test. They don't need to come to America, and they can develop what they need to develop on the mainland.
Absolutely. And I want to definitely give you the opportunity to tell everybody where they can contribute to your school. You definitely have one of the best educational systems I've seen in an independent format anywhere on the continent or off the continent, my brother. So go ahead and tell everybody where they can follow you and where they can support the Zyx Institute.
Zyx, XYAYX, theinstitute.org. That's if you want to get information about our institute. You can donate at GoFundMe, thezyxinstitute.org or Zyx Institute. You can look up Zyx the movement, $XYAYX the movement. If you want to donate via Cash App. If you want to enroll your child, we ask $100 a week or $400 a month online. That's a suggested price. However, we work with whatever your budget is. So whatever is good for you is good for us. I'm actually calling it the SYOP program now. Set your own price. So whatever is good for you is good for us. SYOP. That's
huge, my brother. Hey, thanks so much for coming on. Also, everybody, my brother makes some dope music. So for those of y'all who are into, progressive hip hop, not just that, BS, music that's circulating. Look my brother up on YouTube. He's got some dope music videos and some sounds that you can rock to. Hey, Q Better, thanks so much for hanging out with us today, man. Happy Africa Day, bro.
Good luck, beloved. Happy Africa Day, beloved.
Yes, sir.
Peace.